Good morning and good afternoon to everyone today for our day number 2 of the SyteLine Summit Week. And we had a fantastic presentation yesterday with Dinah Gratis on SyteLine 9 and all the exciting new capabilities and features that are available within SyteLine 9. Today we're going to complement SyteLine 9 with the Infor 10x experience. And I have with me David Heffler. David is our Director of Product Management for the Infor 10x experience, which includes, for example, the Mingles and the IONs, our workflow, our collaboration. So really being able to tie that together with SyteLine and really provide the user, yourselves, with that next generation of interface to those capabilities within the SyteLine environment. And David hails from up in upstate New York, around Buffalo area, and he's actually today broadcasting with us from our New York corporate offices, which is the home of our Hook and Loop group as well. And some of you may have heard of what Hook and Loop is, but Hook and Loop is our group that really is taking a look at what is the best way to present software and make it very usable. So you're going to see a lot of Hook and Loop overtones within the Mingle experience as well. And this is a differentiator that we see within the Infor portfolio of having software that is very easy to use, really works the way you think. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David, and let's jump right into it. David's got about 45 minutes of material to cover today, and I think you're going to be very surprised and feel very comfortable with what SyteLine 9 and the Infor 10x experience brings. So with that, David, it's all yours. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm David Heffler. I'm the Director of Product Management, and what we're going to be focusing on today is the Infor 10 experience. And with the Infor 10 experience, that means we're going to be talking about Mingle, ION, and of course, everyone that's in the SyteLine world here, Mongoose, which is near and dear to my heart. Some of you may know me in my previous life. I was one of the owners of RSVP Business Systems. I was a SyteLine channel partner for almost 20 years. We also authored the QCS product, so very intimate knowledge of SyteLine and, of course, the Mongoose product. And what Infor has done to extend that by bringing in Mingle and ION, I think everyone will see that there's a tremendous benefit in moving forward and really embracing these new pieces of technology to help you guys run your business more efficiently. So let's talk about Mingle for a second. Why do we want to have Mingle? What makes it a differentiator for you as a user of the SyteLine community? Well, it's designed to allow you to have the user to have control. In today's world, what happens? You're working in SyteLine, someone hits you on instant message, you have to drop out, go into that, you start having a conversation. Email hell comes in, you start answering one email, 10 more come in. All of a sudden you're not really working to the best of your ability because you're being pulled apart by all these disparate systems that, right or wrong, have that need to take your attention away from what you need to focus on. And again, you see here in the slide we're talking about applications, people, machine, and data. And what Mingle is trying to do with ION and with Mongoose is help you bring all this together so that you guys can work in one unified desktop that allows you to be sharp, to be able to control what data is going through, and instead of having to walk over to someone's cube, giving you a meaningful way to have a conversation in correlation with what's going on in the day-to-day enterprise, without having to leave to go to email, go to a meeting, things of that nature. So it really helps from that perspective. What it's going to allow you to do is act a lot faster. The contextual work, big part of what Mingle is going to do for you. Today, if you see a problem in SyteLine, what do you have to do? You'll cut and paste something. You'll put it in an email. You may schedule a meeting to go in there. With Mingle, you're going to be able to start a conversation, apply a link, apply different hashtags to things so that there is a meaningful way to get to the information and start a collaborative discussion on something without having to leave the SyteLine environment or to leave your Infor environment And when you're done with it, more importantly, there's a historical reference of it, so that if something like this comes up again, you're able to reference back how the solution was brought about and how you came to what that solution was. And that's very important because there's hundreds and hundreds of decisions that are made on the fly, and a lot of times you don't remember how you got to that crucial answer 6 months ago. So one of the key things with Mingle is what you're seeing here is the home screen. And you can set up your home screen to be any number of different configurations. In this particular one, Norm Richardson has his alerts, his tasks, his posts lined up, and he has his metrics down below. What this is just to give you a very, like an executive desktop, give you a snapshot of what your day is looking at, what things you need to address, and how things are trending for you. When you drill down and you go into alert, you get a full-blown picture of what alerts are out there, and they can sort by time and escalation. You can assign alerts not to yourself or to someone on your team, and then if need be, you can actually drill down into those alerts and get to the root cause of why something's alerting itself to you. And an alert can be anything from someone giving you a heads up, manually putting an alert in, to possibly a machine saying, I need maintenance, someone needs to take care of me because it's been interfaced via ION back to the Mingle environment. So when we talk alerts, we're talking alerts from all the disparate systems, from people, from any number of different ways that you can connect. So we're not just setting up a to-do list for somebody. Tasks are exactly what you think. These are things that need to be taken care of, and they can, again, be sorted by time, escalation, and category. It allows you to quickly approve and reject, and then you can expand for the workflow progress indicator. The important thing here, this is when you're dealing with tasks, this is tying into ION, because as you answer something that is going in from a task perspective, that's kicking off an ION workflow that may be feeding something to SyteLine or to another system or even to a machine or another person. So this is where you're tying in the social part of Mingle with the process side of ION. And then posts, these are updates on the social objects that are going on there, and we'll drill down in our demo towards the end of this. But a social object can be a person, it can be a group of people, it can be an item in the item master, it could be a purchase order. You can follow and get updates on pretty much anything that you would want to track in order to make good business decisions. And again, you see the latest information from groups, and for people that are very familiar with hashtags, that's a very nice way to be able to search for certain pieces of information in a conversation to help you get down to a crucial part of what you were looking for. And then finally, we have the activity feed here. And the activity feed, and almost everyone does it, if you've been on Facebook, it's very similar to what the news feed is. This is kind of what's going on in a newest to oldest type of chronological order. From here, you can start conversations, you can join groups, you can monitor activity of things that you're connected to, and if need be, you can actually connect to quickly access contact information if need be. So what we talked about with Infor Mingle are these four key things: the contextual, the collaboration, the graph I'll drill down into a little bit, and then the process, which is, of course, connecting with ION. So from a contextual point of view, this is opening up a whole new realm for you to have access to information. We all have, your SyteLine environment, which you have a tremendous amount of information at your fingertips, but there's a lot of times when there's other pieces of information that you need that would help you do your business in a better manner. For example, if you were entering customers into a customer data, into the customer master system, having an address verification web part sitting up there would help you verify addresses, and that can contextually check what you're entering in the customer master against a web part that is sitting over in the Mingle side. Or it can be a tie-in to a Twitter feed, or an activity deck, or a currency converter, things that would help you do your business but aren't crucial pieces to the ERP that are sitting inside of it, nor will they probably be built into it. So from a contextual point of view, it's a very easy way for things to communicate back and forth, whether it be a web part or two ERP systems or a CRM or SCM system. It ties it all together in a very easy manner. And it's done through, for the technical people, done through JSON messaging. Collaboration, This is where you're able to, through your connections of people, groups, or even business objects, see what's going on, communicate back and forth, share information. And when we say share information, it's not just, like I said, that screenshot. You can actually have a drill back into your ERP based on the conversation that you're having, which will give people a meaningful way to make a good decision. So for example, if you had an item master concern on a particular part, you could share that to someone directly. They can get their concern in the news feed and then hit the link button and actually go back to the item master within SyteLine without having to log in or know what item number it is. It'll just take them directly there, and then they can continue either making adjustments or continue the conversation with the people that are involved. The graphing part is a very powerful thing in Mingle. It shows the links and relations between business objects, ERPs, web parts, people, businesses. It really ties a graphical way of how things are interacted. And this builds up over time. So the more you use Mingle, the more you interact through the connections. This builds a very unique view of what's going on within your business. So you could say, for example, under the graphing, I'd like to check on part 908. And if you did that, you would see all the interrelations, and that could be anything from the product manager to the purchase orders against it to the sales orders against it, inventory adjustments. You get to see all that in a graphical representation and see how that's being impacted from a total business perspective rather than just what's happening within the ERP. And that's done via ION, and that's what brings people, objects, and business processes together. With the process side of ION, it'll take what's going on in Mingle. So, for example, in this screenshot, we can see that Emily Williams is asked to be approved a requisition number, and when she does that, it's going to start a workflow within ION. So making the approval within Mingle can feed back into the ERP to release the requisition and let that go forward. So that powerful link between Mingle, ION, and then back to the ERP is done through a very easy, loosely coupled connection point. And again, a good graphical representation of what ION connects, ERPs, SCM, CRM, sales dashboard, connects to Mingle locally, warehouse management, Road Warrior, even additional Mongoose applications, which we'll talk about in a little bit. ION is really the hub that just brings everything together because, as you know, Infor has a very large catalog of applications that are available to our customers, and not all of them are built on all the same platform. ION is a means to get that communication between all those systems so that you don't have to worry about, well, I'm using application A, how does it talk to application B? ION ties all that information together for you. And if you look at it in a process in an enterprise, you have the flexible processes and the standard structured processes. So, structured processes are everything that happens in your ERP, what you're doing day to day. The flexible processes are workflows that would kick off as a result of things happening within the structured process. And then you have, of course, what happens in the real world outside of this is the unstructured process of people chatting, emailing, phones, stepping at the water coolers, having those conversations. And a lot of that is lost as to what's happening when you deal with the flexible and structured processes because, again, prior to Mingle, there was no way to tie this information together so that you had a true historical representation on how things are happening within your company. So you can see how ION puts it together for the flexible and structured process, and to gain full control of your process, Mingle encapsulates that to bring in the unstructured processes together with what you are normally accustomed to, which is the flexible and structured process. So on top of all that, we have another tool set, which, again, because you're all SyteLine users, should be very familiar with. It's Infor Mongoose. And it's a tool that lets you bend but not break your application. Now, you guys are very fortunate because you already have your ERP built on the Mongoose platform, so you're very familiar with personalization and how that means, but I'm just going to touch on it again here. Prior to SyteLine being on the Mongoose platform, when you wanted to modify something, it became a potential nightmare. You know, you were changing source code. When you wanted to upgrade, it became very difficult to move up, especially as you built more and more modifications. You have custom code out there. Sometimes it caused version lock. Usually connections were point to point, and it raised the risk because it raised the potential for things to break. With personalization, if it's done properly, you know, you have the ability to take what's core out of the ERP and bend it with Mongoose, doing good personalizations, making your forms changes, using good coding structures for stored procedures and scripting. And it does speed up. It doesn't eliminate upgrades and things that have to happen, but it does minimize it quite a bit from the old days, which speeds up your ability to upgrade. Now, as a result of that, because of how much good work was done with Mongoose and within SyteLine, and you know, for other people that use the field service products, things of that nature, Infor, as an executive team, decided Mongoose was a great platform to offer to our customers beyond those ERP solutions, because it has that capability to bend and not break. And we were seeing so many good ideas coming from customers that were real power users. You know, some of the process extensions, gadgets, things that people were building on top of SyteLine. We could see that there was a lot of power out there, and we could actually take it a little bit farther. So now, on top of being able to own SyteLine with Mongoose, there's also the capability to own Mongoose itself to build things like customer portals, vendor portals, kiosk service, knowledge bases, web parts. To Mongoose, a web part is nothing more than just another form, just like you would have built in SyteLine, only we just built it to a certain size to run within the Mingle environment. The great thing about it is Mongoose is already plumbed to do that communication, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And how do you know if you're a good candidate for Mongoose beyond what you get with SyteLine? These are the questions that we see. If you can answer yes to these, you probably want to be looking at Mongoose as a solution on top of what you already have with SyteLine. You know, can you define a use, a problem, a shadow system? Do you build things? Are you a creator in your organization? Are you modified and trying to find a way out? Well, I'm hoping none of you are, because you're on SyteLine. And are applications limited in feature, and they need to have a little bit of uniqueness? One of the questions that always comes up, well, Dave, I already own Mongoose. It comes with SyteLine. Why would I want to go and purchase Mongoose on top of that? And the reason is, if you're building applications that are for users that are not core ERP users, it's a much more forgiving license, because you don't have all that knowledge, all that infrastructure of the ERP costs going into it. If it's someone that's working in the ERP every day and you're using a Mongoose extension for it, of course you want to just stay with what you've got, because they're already consuming a license. But if you're building web parts, or you want to build something that goes outside of the four walls, or just a standalone application that solving a pain point for you that doesn't necessarily need to tie to the ERP, or does, but it's not an ERP user using it, that's when you want to look at Mongoose, because it's a different licensing structure. And if again, your product manager can, or your channel partner or RVP can help you, you know, through what the costs and all that are, but it is another alternative for you to really take advantage of the Mongoose platform. You know, and some of the key features in the latest version of Mongoose, you know, we have the Infor 10x styling. Everything that you will build in Mongoose by default can look and feel like any other part of your Infor culture. It has that the Soho styling that comes automatically with it. You can, of course, personalize it, go into design mode, and make it look any way you want. And I'll show you an example on a couple slides here of what we're talking about. Or you can have it look just like the rest of your Infor applications, as it'll natively do that. So you have that option. It's automatically contextual, which we talked about. It's automatically plumbed for Mingle. You have both browser and mobile form factors. One of the nice things about Mongoose is there's no compiled code. So if you build a form, it's automatically ready to be rendered out on the web if need be. You don't have to do any special compiling. You don't have to do any changes to make it work from web to full desktop. It's just there ready to render for you. we're automatically plumbed for ION. You guys should already know you have a fast time to value, and a couple other things that we have are marketplace and microvertical accelerators for our vendors that are out there as well. So how do you connect with other products with Mongoose? Well, we have three main ways to do it. Of course, there's ION. That gives you the loosely coupled. We can consume a BOD. We can also distribute a BOD very easily. Not a lot of work involved with it. Of course, we have JSON for communication within the Mingle environment so that you can contextually communicate between applications and various web parts. And then finally, Mongoose has another feature that is called Outrigger. And what Outrigger allows you to do is connect to a non-Mongoose database or another Mongoose database for that matter without having to do any type of mining of data. So you can build an intelligent data object against a different database. So for example, if you were building some sort of customer-facing web page and you wanted to give them access to, say, their sales information very quickly, nothing real high-end, just real easy connection, I can sit there and build a Mongoose application, and the IDO can actually connect to my SyteLine database to show that customer's information. So I don't have to make copies of the data. I didn't have to do anything else. I just have to build the form against that IDO, and I'm looking at my SyteLine data without having to worry about whether or not it's protected behind the firewalls or the DMZs. Outrigger also connects to Oracle databases, and as we go from version to version, from Mongoose 8 to 9 to 10, we're expanding those connection points because as we're seeing more and more interest in Mongoose, we understand that we have to expand our breadth of ability to speak with other databases. So it gives you a very nice way to get to that data real time without too much pain to do so. And here's an example, a tablet page that what you're seeing of a Mongoose application that's out there. As you can see, it does not look anything like SyteLine. It's running in a normal browser on a tablet, and what it's trying to show you is that any form can be presented at a web page. And forms will dynamically change. So one of the things that in the latest version of Mongoose, it actually understands what type of browser you're on, desktop browser versus tablet browser versus smartphone browser. And it will adjust things like buttons and text a little bit differently. So when it sees that it's on a smartphone version, it will make the buttons a little bit bigger so that fingers have a more easy access to connect to it. On a tablet version, they won't be as big, and of course on a desktop, it'll be whatever you've rendered from the original scope because you'll be dealing with a mouse. But as you can see here, it doesn't look like the standard multi-form view with filters. It has all those capabilities, but in this case, this application needed to be like a portal page, and it needed to be self-learning, self-contained, easy to use, easy to consume, a little more pleasant on the eyes than what we would consider a high productivity thing like an ERP system. So I've been doing a little bit of talking. You've been hearing a lot of things of what Mingle can and cannot do and how it can help you out. I'm just going to give you a brief demo showing you Mingle in action with SyteLine going. So I'm going to drop out of the PowerPoint, and we're going to go over to Firefox, and I'm going to log in to Mingle. And just take a second for it to come up. So what you can see at the top here is, you've got your Mingle banner and you've got different connection points. So this is Mingle proper itself. You can see that we have SyteLine over here. We've got EAM. We've got expenses. So we have a lot of top-level applications that are available to you. And you can see I'm loaded in here, and what I'll do is we'll go into my profile, because what happens when you become a Mingle user, one of the first things you're going to need to do is set up your profile. And you can edit your profile by just clicking on the button, and there's some standard contact information that comes over that is uneditable, but you can add things like what office you're in, mobile. You can put some personal information. You can put a profile picture if you choose. And then what landing page do you want to start with? So like in our previous PowerPoint slide, you saw that the one person, what they chose for their main page. In my case, I chose the activity feed page, and you can just hit the drop down and pick whatever dashboard or feed page that you would like to start with. And then finally, what types of notifications would you like? By default, they all come on, and you just turn off the ones that you don't feel you need to get the prompts for. So very easy to do a setup. And then we'll go back to my feed. And then walking through, once you've become a Mingle user, what you want to do is actually start making some connections. So you can see over here on the left-hand side, I have my connections that are here. I'm connected with a group called the Purchasing Review Board, a group called the Lab, Mr. James Jones, he's Director of Product Management, Donovan Jack, and another group called Purchasing Expedite. So you can join up with people or with groups or objects if you would prefer, so that you can follow pretty much anything that you would want. And then in your center part is your feed, where you're seeing things that are going on that are pertaining to you, or people that you are, things, and objects that you are following. And then finally you have recommendations over here, and then over here you have your different connection points. So here's your home, you have your alerts, you have your tasks, your posts, of course we're on the activity feed, and then finally we have the social objects that are out there. So let's go through and figure out how we would actually connect to somebody. So we go into connections, and what it's going to do is bring a directory of everybody up. Now you can filter this by a number of different ways. So you can filter by connected, you can filter by following, you can filter by followed by, so people following you. You can see who's pending, so you've asked to join with them and they have not accepted yet, or finally, who's not connected, which is what we're defaulting at right now. So one of the people I'm going to look for is Ira Johansson, because I'm not connected with this person. So if I hover over here, it says I'm not connected to Ira, and I can say I'd like to connect. And it set the pending flag for me. So at this point, I'm waiting for Ira to get that alert and let me know if either A, he will connect with me, or throw me out because he doesn't like me and doesn't want to talk to me anymore. So you have a very easy way to do connections in here. And you can see it's broken out by people, by groups, by social objects. So you can sort down to pretty much anything that you would want from that point of view. You can create a group if you want. So if you came in here and wanted to create a group, you can set up a group information. So if you saw that you wanted to put a task force together to work on a certain problem, you could make a group, and once that group is created, you can add and invite people to that group that's out there, and then you can start a feed of collaboration to help solve that problem. So it's very easy to do. And we'll go back to my feed, and let's go take a look at some of the other things that are out here. So if I go to posts, I can see the posts that are going on and see what I've been speaking to, and James Jones. These are all people that I'm connected with either via group or by direct connection. I can see what's trending on the object side from a social perspective. I can see what the top contributors are by functional area, and I can see what the top social contributors are. And a lot of people are like, well, why do I really care about the top social contributors? Well, what's interesting is when you see someone that's reacting and contributing a lot to something, most of the time they're going to be what we would consider someone who is at an expert level, someone who's really helping a lot of people go through a lot of things. So you may want to reach out to them either by following them or connecting with them, or just posting something to them asking for their help with things because they seem to have a good command of what they're working with. And of course you have your tasks section. I don't have any tasks right now, but if I did, we'd see the tasks that are in here. They'd be by status, by workflow, and an execution time. And then any alerts that would come up, I have one alert alerting me that item 908A, the gear has been changed, giving me amount information. And then finally we can go to home, which is what you saw before in the PowerPoint slide, where I can see a summary of what's going on in my world. And the last part we want to talk about is the social objects. And this is an interesting way to see how things are interconnected. So if I put on part 300, and I'm going to say I don't know the exact number, so I'm going to put an asterisk there, and I do a search, it's going to show me what's out there. So there's 3 item masters out there, and if I click on one, it's going to expand out what's going on in here. So in this case, this item master has got some requisitions out there. And there's some connection points that are in here where I can actually go and requisition a view against it. But as you can see, very dynamic. You can move things around. You can restructure them. Really take a look at what's going on from an interrelation standpoint. So it's a very powerful tool, and the more information you use, the more you use Mingle, the more this graphing is going to make more sense and actually give you some benefit. So it takes a little time to get that information going, but once the company embraces it and you really start putting it together, it really points out and gives you a unique perspective of what's going on from, even down to a part level. How are things interconnected and what's happening with them? And then, of course, if we go back to the feed, like I said, just to look through here, you can see some of the things. You get some alerts. I can see acceptance as to what's going on, see some pictures, some hashtags that are in there which allow you to search. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to open up another browser, and I'm going to log in as Ira. Well, it looks like I might buy an iPhone 5C too, but we'll do that later. So we're going to log in as Ira Johansson. And we'll just wait a second while this connects up. And you can see in his feed, he can see that I have asked to make a connection. And Ira can choose to either decline or accept. Well, because I think I'm a great guy, I'm going to accept it. So now we have a connection between the two of us, which means that we can now start sharing information, making connections, working through problems together very easily. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to log Ira into SyteLine. So you can see I'm still in Mingle. I'm just switching frames and logging into my database. And even though I'm in Mingle, I'm still running SyteLine, and you can see that I have information here, the Mingle banner. I can go back and forth. I can switch back to my Mingle feed. And vice versa, go right back to SyteLine. So I didn't have to log back in. It understands where I'm sitting and how I'm connected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to log into SyteLine as well. And I'm going to go over to my top 10, and there's items. I'm going to log into items. And I'm going to filter on 908. Now I can see I have 2 items here. And because I see 2 items, I'm going to go ask Ira a question. So I'm going to go up here on my right-hand side in Mingle, and I'm going to click Share. And one of the first things you're going to see is the share box comes up, but it automatically filled in some hashtags. Now you may ask yourself, well, why are they there? Do I really need them? My statement is leave the hashtags in there because it's going to help you if you ever want to search on things. So it's a hashtag of Infor Item Master 908. You have a hashtag of all the enterprise, the product category, so FG100, and it's also built a link so that when you are sharing this information out, someone, when they get this information, can drill right back to the item master. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click in here, I'm going to create a new line, and I want to put this not just to my general feed, I want to send this to someone specifically. So I'm going to say, and I'm waiting for it to come up here. as I started typing an @ sign in someone's name, anybody I'm connected with those initial letters that I'm bringing up will pop up. So in this case, I'm sending it to Ira. So I've tagged them. So just sending a note to them saying, take a look at this item. We now have 2 versions. Should be looking to reduce to 1. And what I'm going to do here from a connection standpoint, I'm going to say I only want to send this to tagged users and groups. In this case, it should only go to Ira. And I'm going to hit share. So what happened was, if I go back to my Safari version and I go back to Mingle, and I'll just do a quick refresh, you can see that David Heffler sent a feed to Ira Johansson. Please take a look at this item. We now have 2 versions. Should we be looking to reduce into 1? The hashtags are there for you, but more importantly, this purple link is here. If I click here, I can say, take me to the item master 908. And when I do, it automatically opened up the items form pre-filtered for it. So now I have contextually gotten to the specific thing that was requested of me. I can make a reaction to it. I can share additional things back to me. It gives you a lot of power. So it's much more than just that screenshot of things. That ability to drill back in and keep that collaboration going back and forth really takes it to another level. So I just wanted to give you a taste of what Mingle can do. I could spend hours on this if I really had the time to do it. So operator, I've gone through the demo. We're about 40 minutes in. I'd be happy to open things up to questions at this point.
Thank you, David. And yeah, operator, why don't we go ahead and open up the question from our audience here.
Certainly. At this time, I'd like to remind everyone, in order to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster.
David, just a couple of questions here. As we start seeing, let's say the Mingle and the collaboration, one of the challenges that we're seeing is as the economies come back here, especially in the U.S. market, that it's really still tough to get people to go into manufacturing. And they've been trained on things like Facebook and such like that. So now you're trying to get new hires. How can Mingle and some of the collaboration tools help with bringing these folks in and getting the most out of them?
Well, it's a very good question. I mean, one of the things that, and you're right, the new generation that is coming up is very socially active, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They understand that culture. They understand that way of learning. They understand that way of communication. I laugh about it because, I'm still a guy that will pick up a phone and call somebody. And I look at, using it as an example, I use my children as an example. I have a senior in high school, and my daughter, if she had to use her phone for anything other than texting or working on Facebook or collaborating, I'm like, call your friends. She's like, I've already talked to my friends. We've communicated through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They understand that communication. They absorb the knowledge better, and they learn from that better is what I'm seeing. So if you bring Mingle into the environment of manufacturing, it's going to aid them getting comfortable in something that is a little bit foreign to them, and understanding how the processes work. Because if they get stuck, what's the first thing someone of that culture is going to do? They're going to go collaborate with someone, and having that readily available to just say, hey, I'm having a problem trying to do a drop ship order to a foreign country. I don't really understand this. Could you help me out? And just send that link over to them. It's going to aid them to get up to speed, and it's going to give them the confidence that they're in a familiar environment to them.
And with the entire look that we've got now, software in the past was often the user interface was designed by software developers and not by folks that were in really truly using the software. And we've taken the folks from our hook and loop group, and really started to make it friendly and easy to use. And any comments on that?
Well, and I'm a guy that's been around the block with the whole SyteLine world. What I've seen change with the collaboration with Hook and Loop has been nothing less than fantastic. Software was always just functional. Didn't matter if it was appealing to the eye. Didn't matter if you could get someone trained. You always thought that we could just forge through it, train somebody, put them in a training class. It didn't matter if it was an intuitive piece of software as long as it worked. Well, the benefit of Infor is that we have really good software that works fantastically. And now with bringing Hook and Loop in, we're making it intuitive, we're making it beautiful, we're making it pleasing to work with. And that just makes for a better experience for the workers on a day-to-day basis.
So taking a little bit of that, what a manufacturer might call industrial design process, and making the product usable and not just functional.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So, operator, do we have any pending calls here?
Yeah, actually, we've got a few questions lined up. Your first question comes from the line of Julie Drim from Star Cutter Company. Your line is open.
Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. Yes, my question has to do a little bit with the way to click the links to jump, for instance, when the user is answering a question. Ira was answering David's question and clicked the button. We are a multi-site company, and currently on 803.11, not knowing how would we be forced to go into the SyteLine 9 level to be able to have it know which site to log into. If we had a single instance multi-site, that would be reduced. But if we chose to have a hybrid, would we be able to have it distinguish which site to go to? Am I clear in my question?
No, you're very clear. No, it does distinguish between the site. It understands where it came from what configuration.
Okay. So would that then force Ira, if he was in Site A and then clicked on something that was a question for Site B, to then be claiming additional licenses of SyteLine?
It should switch him over.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a challenge to just make sure that it's multi-site friendly.
Oh, no, we understand, believe me.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Julie. Yeah, next question, please.
Your next question comes from the line of Bob Estone from Ostomed. Your line is open.
Bob, good morning.
Good morning. Are there any hardware or software specs associated with Mingle running in your enterprise?
Yeah, there are specifications. I don't have them on me at this point. I believe if you just talk with your sales rep, they can get you the configuration. Just like with SyteLine, we have the guide to technology. We have very similar guides for all the different pieces for Mingle, for ION, and for Mongoose itself. So you can get those guides very easily.
Okay, and then if you don't mind, the second part to that, is Mingle the tool for accessing SyteLine on iPad and iDevices?
It's one way. There's no requirement for Mingle to access SyteLine on an iPad device because of the web client. And as long as you have the web address, you can run SyteLine natively from those devices. If you run it from an iPhone, obviously those screens aren't formatted for that. While the buttons may get bigger, it's an awfully big screen to be scrolling. But on an iPad, it does a fairly decent job right out of the box.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Question, please.
Sorry, your next question comes from the line of Jordan Jaquay from Ventures. Your line is open.
Good morning, Jordan.
Hi, good morning. We use SharePoint for our collaboration platform, and we built an intranet and a customer portal off of that. Can SharePoint, two questions, can SharePoint be integrated into the ION and the Mingle platform? But then also, do you have any examples of how a current customer has integrated SharePoint and how they use it?
Well, the funny thing is Mingle is based on SharePoint, so the fact that you have SharePoint in there makes a Mingle installation that much easier because it is running on a SharePoint system.
Excellent.
Next question, please.
And once again, if you'd like to ask a question, press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. Your next question comes from the line of Dwayne Lesher from Hebler. Your line is open.
Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning. How you doing? I was kind of curious that Mingle sort of integrates with SyteLine and the web client, and we really don't use the web client too heavily here. But we do a lot of customizations, UATs. Would that show up on the web client side?
When you say the UETs, would they show up on the web client side? If you added any form that you added to, even though you're doing it on the full client, would render on the web client. It would show up just like any other form. So
okay.
If you added additional UETs, they would most definitely show up.
Great. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, and your next question comes from the line of James Arnold from Renai. Your line is open.
Good morning, James.
Good morning, sirs. A question. In looking at your graph, I did see Twitter there, but I did not see a Facebook link. Is Facebook and use of Outlook 2010, are those connected through your Mingle?
I don't believe Facebook is there as of yet. I think it's more of a legality issue and making sure that we're covering our bases when using the API. Outlook, I can check. I don't know. I don't believe it's on the roadmap at this point.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And your next question comes from the line of Ashwin Shaheen from Edwis. Your line is open.
Good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning, David.
Good morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to know that whether we are saying that Mingle is having the ION connection inbuilt.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please? I didn't hear you.
I wanted to say that my question is it Mingle is already having the ION connectivity by default?
Yes, it already is connected. It comes standard connected with ION. Whether or not you need that depends on what you're connecting with. Because
okay.
Mingle uses both JSON and ION. As you deal with tasks and flows, of course, you're going to want ION in order to get that full experience with it. But if you use just Mingle to communicate between your SyteLine ERP and some web parts, and you weren't concerned about tasks, though I would highly recommend that you do be concerned about tasks, you would not need to activate ION at that point. So you could turn it on in stages. You don't have to just turn everything on and drink from the fire hydrant, so to speak.
Now, how do we connect the customized form based on customer's requirement?
Are you talking interfacing with the customized form? Was that it?
Yeah, customized form based on customer's requirement with the Mingle.
Well, if you build a customized form, you'd be doing it in. Are you talking a SyteLine form or are you talking a new Mingle page?
SyteLine form.
If you make a new, let's talk two phases. There's personalizing a SyteLine form and creating a new SyteLine form. If you're personalizing a SyteLine form, and for example, you wanted to enhance a JSON feed of information or an ION feed of publishing a BOD, what you would need to do is you would add your personalization to the form, whether it be fields, tables, IDOs, whatever additional information you want. And then if it was a JSON communication, you go into the JSON event and add the additional information that you're passing. If it's an ION event, you would go in and make the appropriate changes to the BOD so that it incorporated that. If you built a brand new form, it's kind of a wide open space for you. So you can make the determination, do you need to publish a BOD or consume a BOD against that, or make a brand new JSON message to feed it. The nice thing is if you built the form and it doesn't need to be contextually there, you don't have to do anything. It will still run in Mingle. It just won't have that contextual communication.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
There are no further questions at this time. I turn the call back over to the presenters.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, and I hope you've gotten a good, solid feel for what the Infor 10x with SyteLine is going to be providing to you. And just to wrap the week here, or I should say to continue the week, where we have tomorrow, we have warehouse mobility, and how warehouse mobility is going to provide information to and from the manufacturing shop floor into SyteLine in real time. So obviously SyteLine, a very high-speed solution coupled with the Mingle and such, providing information to the front office. Now what we're going to do tomorrow is looking at how we're going to be able to get that information to and from the shop floor users, and that'll be covered with the warehouse mobility solution. So stay tuned tomorrow, same time, and look forward to having you attend that as well. So with that, no other questions. I'd like to thank you all for attending and look forward to seeing you tomorrow. So thanks again.